Hello, everyone. This is Greg, your host of Goddamn Gamecube. Welcome to Season 3. If you enjoy listening to our show, consider subscribing to us on YouTube for exclusive video content. Thank you and enjoy today's episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Goddamn Gamecube. Greg and Beppe are your hosts today, and I never thought that we'd ever talk about this game and this guy. But we are going to be talking about Heavy Rain and David Cage's games. These interactive movie games that I feel like every game was trying to do this at one point in circa 10 years ago.
Yep.
But Beppe, why don't you kick it off, cuz this is an interesting topic.
Yeah, sure. No, I think just to kind of preface it, we are going to primarily be talking about Heavy Rain, a game we've both played. That's going to be the bulk of the conversation, and then we're going to veer off into David Cage's broader work.
Mm-hmm.
But just so the audience has a clear idea of what this episode is about, how we're going to structure it. We both like this game. I think at the time it was kind of a rough time for games where a lot of stuff was turning into QTE fests, quick time events stuff, and this game, it uses them, but it's not as offensive for some reason
Because the QTEs are the game.
Yeah, and it's very much a proto Telltale kind of experience where you're making your decisions with these QuickTime events, and a pretty innovative use of the PS3 controller in a lot of places. A lot of interesting, subtleties to it. So I'm just trying to set it apart. It's not just like press X, press B, whatever.
Yeah.
You can rock it back and forth or steer a car, et cetera, et cetera.
The joke that I like to make is I like this game and then I met you.
Yeah.
And I think...
Do you not like it anymore?
No, I think what happened was when this game, right around when it came out, I played it a little bit later, 2011, 2012.
Yep.
And I really liked it. But then when I met you around that time and I became friends with your friends, you guys kept bringing up how bad the acting job was and how the game is kind of funny.
Yeah.
And when I originally played the game, I thought it was very not funny, and it was because they tried to be very, very serious.
Yeah.
And that's where I think sort of the line in the sand is for people on this game, is you either really bought into this or you do laugh at it. And I still think it's good to at least play once, but why don't you take us right in?
No, I think it was legitimately, at the time, sort of a pioneer of storytelling in that respect, where you didn't have a lot of choose your own adventure stuff. Mass Effect was only just getting started. I played it in 2012 and I thought it was good, but there were certain things that I started to notice as you go on. It's just odd line readings, and then it's kind of a room thing a little bit, where we should clarify that David Cage is French.
Yep.
Quantic Dream is a French studio. I have nothing but love and respect for the people of France, but I don't know about these ones. I don't know. No, I mean, I'm not gonna. They're in the middle of a lawsuit right now, which some pretty. Do you know about this?
No.
It's pretty much chickens coming home to roost for like them, like an Activision kind of thing, where grinding people, a lot of people complaining about oppressive work environments, inappropriate behavior. They only just got one case thrown out about a wrongful termination, but there was a recent development where his partner asked if they could lie because they weren't under oath, and it's just I don't think they have a pretty strong case here if they're asking if they can lie on the record. Weird, a lot of weird behind the scenes stuff. We're just gonna try to examine their upfront work. There is a lot of strange writing and voice acting in these games, particularly Heavy Rain, where you can tell that it's a non-native English speaker enunciating these words, or trying to do American accents where you don't have one. There's a lot of. We just watched a supercut by a YouTuber who does all these wonderful Heavy Rain videos called Not Tim Wakefield, all one word. We've been watching his videos forever. You should check him out. But I noticed a lot of anythings, which is a very kind of, you hear that a lot when it's a non-native English speaker or someone from Australia or England or whatever.
The most infamous is the origami killer, right? What the hell was that?
Yeah, that's he took the R out of killer and he put it in origami, so you get origami killer.
It's really weird.
Some really really strange stuff, but it's. My point being, when it's good, and when it's not, it's funny. So it's always entertaining.
I'm just not sure what accent they're trying to portray. Like, is it New Jersey, or is it Boston? Is it East Coast?
What I gathered was, I know they did like some location scouting in Philly, and
okay.
I don't think they named the city that it takes place in.
Okay.
But I guess we should just right off the bat just explain what this game is about. Heavy Rain is sort of an interactive storytelling thing where you it's all about a serial killer who is kind of targeting young boys, and he puts them in like a gutter or a cell of some kind, and during the rainy seasons the rain piles up and drowns them. And basically, you take the role of a couple different characters who are involved in this case. One of them is a young father named Ethan. You have a journalist named Madison, a private investigator named Scott, and a like FBI investigator called Norman Jaden. And so you're trading off like different perspectives over the course of the game, and it's kind of interesting. And it starts out like pretty not awful. It's like a pretty compelling, like sincerely good. Where I think Mr. Cage was talking about how he lost his son in a mall once, and that's kind of how the game starts.
Sure.
And like all the fears, it's kind of a Pet Cemetery kind of thing with that.
What I wanted to say is, like, back in the day when I worked at GameStop and customers asked me what this game was, I described it to them. It's kind of like that movie Crash.
Sure.
Where like the different character stories come together. But in this game, it's more centered on obviously this one plot line.
Yeah. It's very like, and he goes into a coma and loses one of his sons. And it's pretty much, it picks up a couple months later. Where he still experiences blackouts, and he's separated from his wife. His life has fallen into ruins, and he's like babysitting his other son for the weekend or whatever. And that son is targeted by the serial killer.
That's right,
and that's how the story kind of kicks off. Everyone becomes involved in this. Honestly, like, I thought that once the story kicked off, the atmosphere is really good. And it's so funny that we're talking about, not funny, but interesting that we're talking about this during like such a, all this flooding is happening right now, like the tail end of the hurricane here. But we're right in the heavy rain season.
We are.
And I thought the atmosphere was very good. I'm a big sucker for rainy stuff.
Sure.
Overly rainy stuff. The score is very, very good. I just thought that like the atmosphere was very successful in spite of like the memes.
Sure. I mean, I was very compelled by the beginning of this game. I was also 10 years younger at this point. Who knows if I played this at 29 years old versus when I was 19. Yeah. But what I really felt at the beginning of this game is I felt bad for this guy.
Oh yeah.
Like, you essentially how I feel, I remember this playing out is your first kid is killed in a car accident that you couldn't prevent at the mall because you lose your kid in the mall.
Yeah.
And then blah, 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 your life falls apart. You're trying to, be a divorced dad and taking care of your kid, and then he ends up getting abducted. So you just feel bad for him.
Yeah.
And really the story plays out like you play as like four people trying to solve this, and the dad is one of them.
Yeah. So Do you want to do you want to start with his character and just kind of talk about what he goes through and stuff?
Yeah, you mean like the scenarios?
Yeah, like let's go through his story kind of. I mean, they intertwine at certain points,
Yeah,
but
what I actually found to be the most compelling part of this game was the things that. So essentially, how I remember this playing out is that the origami. I'm going to start saying origami now, just because like we keep watching these videos. The origami killer gives Ethan almost like these tasks to do or these challenges.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, if you do this really weird and dangerous thing, I'll give you a clue as to where your son is.
Right.
He's almost like playing with you.
Yep.
And some of them are pretty cool. Like you have to drive the wrong way down a highway
Into
into traffic and do a bunch of quick time events to solve it.
Yep.
There's a really grotesque quick time event where he wants you to cut off your finger, and you actually have the choice of how you want to cut it off.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, oh my God, this is actually, and it's so much more gross because you have to do it as a quick time event.
Physically with the
you
controller.
physically have to chop your own finger off. It's like, eek.
Yeah.
It's pretty gross. But what I really liked about this was that you can fuck it up.
Yeah.
Like it's not automatic that you complete these challenges, and the fewer clues you get, the harder it is to find your son at the end of the game. It actually matters.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really cool. I don't know what else you have to say about Ethan. But
it's not the killer giving you like little clues in games and stuff is not like a new idea, but it's executed successfully in that it involves you in this way. Like it successfully got you into his shoes, and it the fact that you're kind of taking control of him with the controller and all these different things, and how you do feel what I think was lost in other games of the time is how engaged you are as a person.
Yeah.
And I think it just about made it for me, where it's like I felt like I wasn't just playing an interactive movie.
Yeah.
There was enough to kind of fart around with and explore there.
What were the other ones as Ethan? You have to crawl through glass too, right? At one point.
Yeah, or like live wires. Or
and you have to you have to murder someone else too, right?
Yes,
something like that. Yeah, they make you do some wild shit in the Ethan scenarios.
But it's, they're essentially optional. But you're not going to have the clue, or you're going to have to find it a different way. So interesting in that he's kind of like the center of all this. And he winds up entangled with the journalist.
Is it Madison?
Yes.
Yeah.
And she has some pretty spooky encounters as well, where she's like all alone in her apartment. That one was really creepy.
Yep.
She has to kind of skulk around like a club to talk to people and stuff like that. And it's sort of just it's a lot of blending in, a lot of just trying to. You feel very vulnerable as her. And she's kind of working her own angle essentially, and they intertwine at points. Do you have any memories of that plot line?
I do. What I want to emphasize to there may be some people listening to this who haven't played this.
Yeah,
because this was a big game like 12 years ago.
Yeah.
What I think is very interesting about Heavy Rain is especially this character. Your characters can die permanently.
Yeah.
And you can lose their part of the story permanently, which when I played it, I didn't sweat more playing a game because I didn't want that to happen.
Yeah.
Like if you let one of the characters die by failing quick time events, it is harder to solve the mystery, which I think is really cool. And Madison is one of the most dangerous characters, by dangerous as in there are many ways for her to fail.
Right.
Do you remember the apartment sequence where it blows up?
Yes.
And you have to
get caught on fire or something?
Yeah, you can like be caught on fire. If you choose to jump out of the building, you die. You have to like hide in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
This game fucking made me nervous. Like they definitely ratchet up the tension. It's just for all the memes, some of the parts of this game are very successful. I think it's because of the weight of the choice or the weight of what can happen if you screw it up.
Yeah. And some generally like successful character building, even if the dialogue is funny. It's all the pieces are there. I don't have too much more to say about her until we, I think, get towards the ending. But the FBI investigator, probably like my favorite to play as. A very funny kind of fake Boston accent. He's being flown in to work the case, and He's a very kind of well-defined character. He's not bland at all. He's very kind of at odds frequently with the local law enforcement. You can tell they don't like him. He's kind of he's butting heads with the local like detective.
Yep.
And it's a very kind of it's a nice to have some drama. That's like sub drama of a little like side story, because there's like, well, we need you to solve this case.
Sure.
Like,
and another part of his story is he's an addict.
Yeah.
Or like I don't quite understand this. Maybe you can explain it better. He's either like addicted to his virtual reality, or it's in his virtual reality glasses. He has some sort of addiction he can't kick, which becomes a part of the game.
Well, it's like he's on a drug that he's addicted to, and I think it enhances when he's wearing these virtual reality glasses. He takes it to kind of like trip a little bit and kind of think outside the box and solve these puzzles and clues his own way. And it's a cool idea. It's kind of, you brought up, it's kind of strange that it's pretty much the only thing in the game that is that like
futuristic. It's kind of weird. I almost thought of it like they tried to almost like put the Matrix in this game. Like he kind of almost has that look. Like, look at these cool glasses. And it's almost kind of like Deadly Premonition too.
Yeah.
Where he kind of has like his own weird way of solving crime, and it's kind of futuristic and unrealistic. Yeah. It's kind of weird.
Well, more, it's Twin Peaks when he's throwing the ball at the whatever.
Sure.
But it is pretty funny too that he's the only person experiencing this. So they cut to like some other cop who's just watching him throw a ball against the wall.
Yeah, like
nothing.
He's throwing like a VR ball at a wall, but he's just throwing nothing.
Yeah. It's well conceived. I liked playing as him a lot. Kind of an interesting guy.
He's also one of the characters that has the most opportunities to fail.
Yeah.
He gets into a lot of dangerous scenarios as well, whether it's the funny guy at the scrapyard.
Yeah.
You remember the sword fight? You remember that?
No.
And like you can get run through by the origami killer, like if you fail the katana fight or whatever in the office.
I barely remember that.
Yeah,
one.
there's like a fish tank or something. Yeah, it was interesting.
And not only that, but we were watching the scenes where he gets like dismissed and fired. Just like that's how his story can end. Pretty cool. And lastly is Scott, who's the private investigator. And one of the most interesting, because it's very he's very much doing his own thing, and there's a lot of kind of characters he exclusively interacts with. He's very much on his own path there, and I liked him at first because he's kind of like a friendly older guy, like seems like totally just on the up, like he's just doing this just to help somebody out, or and the way he interacts with people, he's kind of like an old like early like Law and Order kind of like old veteran kind of guy. And there's not much more we can say without getting into spoilers.
Yeah, we probably should.
So skip pretty far ahead if you want to avoid knowing who the killer is.
Yeah,
we're gonna spoil it in a few seconds. Last chance.
Yep.
Scott is the killer.
Yep.
Wow. I was pretty surprised.
Me too. Like so essentially the big gotcha in the game is you're playing as the killer the whole time.
Right.
So Scott is the origami killer, and what's really kind of fucked up, and in a good way, is like you do a lot of nice things as him, rocking a baby to sleep, and it's kind of screwed up. Essentially what you're doing when you're playing as Scott is you're actually covering up your own murders.
Oh yeah.
But he's putting it across as if he's trying to solve it. But he did it, and he's taking the evidence back.
I thought it was because it's not like I figured like maybe one of them is the killer, but I wasn't quite sure. He was probably pretty low on my suspicion list. Not that it's a new concept to have a detective be the actual killer, but I thought it made sense. It made more sense than you would expect under scrutiny, because he, like you say, he's visiting, and then like, at a certain point they show him gathering all the evidence he's collected and burning it.
Yep.
And it's like, oh fuck, that's cool. You know, and you piece together that this is because when he was a kid, their dad didn't rescue his brother from drowning,
Mm-hmm.
and that was when his foot was caught in a gutter.
Yep.
And it's like his twisted motivation is that he's finding like a worthy father, like
Yep.
who will go to extreme lengths to rescue their kid.
Right.
And it all makes perfect sense. And it's interesting the way that the ending can play out.
Aren't there like 20 something different
Several.
ways it can play out?
Depending on who you kept alive.
And
decisions
honestly,
you
a lot
made.
of it is pretty depressing.
Oh yeah.
What I think is
like
probably
99%.
Oh my God. What I think is probably the best part about this game that really engaged me, when I beat this for the first time, I did get the good ending, but I did not complete all of Ethan's clues. I only did 3 out of 5. So at the end of the game, you have to guess where the killer is. And of course, it's kind of cliched. He's at the docks, but you have like a list of options where you can go in your GPS. Do you remember this?
Yep.
And like, I did not have them all. Like I had, it's the other way around. I had too many options to choose from because I
Right.
didn't narrow it down. And I had to guess, and I got it right. And I
Okay.
said, holy fuck, what if you get it wrong? But the game thought of that too. I don't know if you know this. If you go to the wrong location, Madison, if she's alive, will tell you where to go.
Oh, okay.
So that's fascinating. So like, if you go to the wrong location as Ethan and Madison is dead, you will not make it.
Right.
Which is really cool.
Oh yeah. Like it is very much. I would like to see this applied to other games where your decisions actually matter, and it's not just like a grind fest. There's like different tasks. There's different ways to reach the ending, but it kind of adds up. So I think ultimately it achieves what it set out to do. It succeeds in spite of itself.
Yeah.
Do you have any like sort of final thoughts on
Heavy Rain?
Yeah.
I do. What I also like about this game is even if you get to the end and solve it, you can still screw it up.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember that final confrontation? Like, I believe if everybody gets there, like the FBI agent will chase Scott.
Yeah.
And I believe Madison will hold off the police and Ethan will save his kid.
Yep.
I believe that's how it works.
That's the best.
That's the best situation. But if one of them is missing, it can really go haywire.
Yep.
Where like there are some endings where Ethan is killed by the police. There are some endings where there is a part of the game where Ethan can get arrested.
Yeah,
So
I didn't mention that
so
he's a suspect as
He's
well.
a suspect. So if he gets arrested, he cannot show up to the final confrontation. So Madison and the FBI agent can also solve this, but then you can almost get a kind of good ending where Ethan is absolved of this.
Yeah.
But dude, there are a lot of ways for this to play out, and yes, you can fuck it up totally, and Scott gets away with it.
Oh yeah.
Which is fucked up. Like I love that can happen, but I just got like a chill.
Yeah.
It makes me feel bad.
that everyone else gets wasted.
Yeah, and like he can get away with it if you screw it up.
It's that True Detective season 2.
Yeah. And my final, like, if we're just talking about Heavy Rain, back when this game came out, I thought this game was incredibly successful, like on what it set out to do. Where I was incredibly engaged. I sweated my fucking ass off playing this game because I didn't want to screw it up.
Yeah.
And at the end, I still had to roll the dice and get it right. And I thought it was really impactful. And I thought it was a really cool game at the time. I can't wait for us to talk about his other games because I have other stuff to say. But what are your thoughts on Heavy Rain?
Oh no, I just I'm not sure about if I would be interested to go back to it. I think they ported it to PS4.
I played it twice.
You played it twice. Yeah, I don't know. I played through it in its entirety once in I think 2012. And it's kind of one of those things where you can just kind of look up like the different. I don't think
you don't have to go through all 20.
I don't think it would be a great use of time to re-experience the gameplay elements.
Sure.
It's just like it's just cool that people can have a different experience.
Yeah, I think about Heavy Rain though, like what I don't know what happened to this game, but here's what I mean by that. Where I felt like when it came out, it was very successful, but then the internet got a hold of it and started picking it apart. And then that's why I think people think it's bad, or like maybe it has a reputation of being a bad game. I don't think it is at all.
No, I think it's, I mean, as we'll go on to say, I think it's his best game.
Yeah.
I think it is very fully realized. I think it is a success. I would recommend, if you skipped over the spoilers, I would recommend you play it.
I think it's a game that it is worth playing once.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I highly recommend playing it once.
Yeah, it is. It is a genuinely like engaging atmosphere. I think a lot of different people would get something out of it.
Yeah.
So now I would like to address David Cage's other work. Is his broader work is far more of a mixed bag.
Sure. I've actually beaten most of them.
Okay. Have you beaten his very first game, Nomad Soul?
No, I thought you were going to say Fahrenheit.
Okay.
Or Indigo Prophecy. I did not play Nomad Soul.
Yeah, the Nomad Soul is a late 90s game. It was his first game, I think, with the studio. And what may surprise you is that David Bowie was involved.
Really?
He and his wife,
Sure.
Iman, and one of his band members, Gail Ann Dorsey, who's played with a lot of contemporary musicians. They all appear in the game as various characters.
I never even heard of this game.
David Bowie is like in a like in a band in the city that you.
Okay.
It's like a like futuristic cyberpunk kind of thing, and it looks really funny. But it's even funnier too because are you pretty familiar with his discography?
Yeah.
So essentially the soundtrack of this game became what I think is one of his worst albums.
Oh boy.
It's like I think he went through a lot of like really interesting phases, and it's just so perfect that my least favorite phase aligns with a David Cage game because he wrote 10 songs for this game.
I didn't know that.
Which became the album. Yeah. It's called Hours.
Oh, okay.
I don't recommend it to anybody. It's just very, very bland. But they got him in there.
Okay.
So I just thought
that's a weird crossover.
A strange little factoid is that
Wow.
that's where it all started. But he does consistently get, I think up till recently, he gets some pretty significant celebrity clout with each game somehow. You must be really good at glad handing and making the connections.
Yeah.
Because so the next one was Fahrenheit, which you played.
I beat this game, yeah.
Tell me about this.
It was actually the first David Cage game I played.
Okay.
It actually made me interested in Heavy Rain.
Okay.
So I played this. God, is it on my shelf right now?
Probably.
Yeah, it is. I played this on the original Xbox.
Wow.
Yeah. So this was my first Quantic Dream experience. This game was actually pretty cool. It ended up getting shitty. So here's how this works. You play as somebody, you kill someone in a bathroom in the first 2 seconds, and then you alternate between you being the murderer and the police trying to find you.
Oh, okay.
So what's really interesting is you can do stuff as the killer and then try to solve it as the police or not. Like, I just killed someone in a bathroom. Am I going to hide the murder weapon? And as the police, can I find it?
Right.
It's weird, kind of how like
cool idea though.
Kind of cool idea, but it kind of like keeps outdoing itself. Where if I hide the weapon, now I'm going to try to find it as the police, but I play as both of them, so I don't understand this. But it was interesting. It sort of does this thing that I don't like. I don't know if we've ever talked about this on the podcast. I don't like when games that are grounded in reality get sci-fi'd, or like it starts getting out of reality. I guess like I don't remember quite the plot of this game.
Like possessed or something?
Yeah, there's
right?
some sort of like either disease or something's happening in the world where people are losing control of their minds, and that's why they're killing people. That's like what happened to you. Or I don't remember why this whole Indigo Prophecy thing started, but about halfway through the game it gets kind of stupid. Like at the end of the game you're like flying and you're having these like airborne superhero battles. It's really weird. It's really strange. But the first half is really interesting.
Yeah, I don't necessarily like, only if it is done very naturally and doesn't get stupid.
Yeah,
like that. Like I just for the first time watched the original Candyman movie.
Oh yeah, sure.
Just in anticipation of the new one, and that's something it starts very kind of grounded, gritty, like very kind of human beings, like developing the characters, getting it, and it only like weird stuff only starts happening like over halfway through.
Yeah.
And it's not stupid. It's like just subtle enough just to get you into it.
The last thing about Fahrenheit that I actually thought was interesting, you had like I don't remember what they called it. It wasn't like a bravery meter. You had like a disheartening meter where like the higher it was, the more confident you were, or the more you would press through a stressful situation.
Okay.
So like example, I remember this very distinctly. You play as a secondary character, and if you look at a dead body, your meter goes like very far down to like over, like it has different designations, like you're feeling confident, or you're feeling okay, or you're feeling overwrought or stressed. And depending on what your level of meter is, you react to situations differently.
Okay.
I remember there being a situation where like I examined a dead body and my character got freaked out and ran out of the scene.
Okay.
So like you can fail stuff that way if you don't let you have to make sure your characters are confident enough to continue. It was odd, but it was interesting.
Like, I was curious about the title. Is that why it's called Fahrenheit? If it's like a degrees of,
I don't know. I think it was called Fahrenheit in Europe, and it was called Indigo Prophecy here.
It's called Celsius.
I'm sorry. That's really funny. Wait a minute, aren't I right? I thought it was called Fahrenheit in Europe.
I have no idea.
Then again, it would be Celsius. That's really funny. Someone write that in the comments so I don't have to Google that. I'm pretty sure I'm right.
It's a rare moment where we're stumped.
Wouldn't that be really funny if it was called Fahrenheit in Europe and David Cage got that wrong too, and he lives there?
Oh my god!
Am I wrong?
It could happen
because I have the American version right here. It's Indigo Prophecy, and I know it's Fahrenheit in other countries.
See, that sounds interesting until you get up to like flying around as a superhero.
It was fucking stupid.
I totally glazed over. I meant to tell you about that first game because I assumed you played it. One of the big things about it is it's called the Nomad Soul because when you die, you are reincarnated into the first NPC that stumbles upon you.
Interesting.
And it's kind of, you just jump from
person to person.
Pretty cool. And I think it's kind of an interesting philosophy that he ascribes to, where he doesn't like fail states.
Yeah.
And I'm in two minds about it, because I think those are valuable, but I do understand where he's coming from, where if you fuck something up, then the story can continue. I think that's cool.
Well, I feel like his one game with fail states is the best one. It's Heavy Rain. Well, there isn't a fail state. It makes the game harder, but your character's having the consequence of dying.
No, I think that's what he means, is that the game, like, it doesn't say game over.
The game will continue.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that's cool. Wait, okay, so then Heavy Rain came after that, and what's the next one?
Beyond Two Souls.
Right.
This game is fucking awful.
Okay. I think this reviewed very poorly.
Okay.
From what I understand, it has Willem Dafoe, who we all love, and Elliot Page.
Yes.
And it's apparently, I was reading up on it, and it reminds me a lot of how Control was described. Is it kind of the same thing?
No. So this game is abysmal. Also,
so
Control is abysmal too. So can I give you my quick fire thoughts about why I hated this game?
Sure.
This might be one of the games that made me want to start a podcast because I hated it so much.
Okay.
So
I also saw it on your shelf over there.
Yeah, dude, holy shit. So this game, think about Heavy Rain and the consequence of your choices and how characters can die, and get rid of all of that.
Okay.
So in Beyond Two Souls, you can't die. There are no fail states. Nothing you do matters because you can't fail anything, and the story goes on anyway. And it turns out the same way. And what I absolutely could not stand about this game, and it drove me crazy, my hands are in the air because I'm like cringing.
Yeah.
You have this like spirit or entity called Aiden with you, but it's spelled Aiden, and like every time they say it as Aiden, I'm like, you're saying that to be cute. It's Aiden.
Yeah.
Stop. And it's so cringy. And dude, and because there is no consequence to anything, if you put the controller down, you can beat the game.
Well, I was reading a review that compared it to pressing play and pause on a movie. Like,
yes.
You're just like,
yes.
Like, okay, I'm engaged, and that's the distinction I was trying to draw with Heavy Rain.
Yeah.
Is that it's not like that. But I have no intention of playing this game. I think there was some strange controversy where Elliot Page is like in a shower or something, and they didn't tell him that they were like capturing them or something.
Oh,
There's like
okay.
a weird
I remember
motion
this scene.
capture,
Yeah.
and they didn't know, and it was a whole big controversy. And there's a lot of just like generally like creepy stuff in these games occasionally, like from times you get kind of a little skeevy
sexual content,
like just doesn't serve anything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
This game, it was fucking awful.
I have no intention of ever playing it.
It's awful. You know what, dude? Like it's probably one of the worst games I've ever played.
That's
and
insane.
Do you know what's interesting? I wish I remembered this for one of our previous episodes. It might be my most disappointing. Because
crazy.
I liked Heavy Rain a lot at the time, and when this came out, I was pumped, and it sucks.
This was 2013.
Yo,
right?
it's so bad.
Okay, wow. And as far as I know, there's only one more,
Yeah.
which I doubt is much better.
You're talking about Detroit?
That's right.
So I've only played a little bit of it. I really want to finish it.
Okay.
All I know is like okay. Here's what I've gathered from at least people on the internet. I guess David Cage was trying to say it's not about diversity, but the game is definitely about diversity, and he doesn't handle it well either. It's like a complete debacle. I don't know what you know about it. I've only played a little bit of it.
All I know is that I think it reviewed better than the previous one, but I read quite a few reviews that said it thinks it's a lot smarter than it is.
Yeah.
Retreading a lot of like Ship of Theseus stuff, like if you replace all the different parts of something, is it a different thing or is it the same thing? Piece by piece. And I think that's what they're going for. It's kind of like a Blade Runner thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly what it is.
If you replace like someone's, all the different components of a person, are they still the same? You know, it's been done before. It's only like, I think that is something that really makes, I think the pin I'd like to put on this whole thing is that David Cage seems like the bad auteur, like, you know what I mean? Like he's like versus someone like Kojima or Swery or Miyazaki, where they're checking the pulse every now and then of where culture is, and they're doing something different, and they're trying, even if they don't always succeed, they are trying to say something interesting and get people to think or act a different way.
But I feel like David Cage is the kind of guy, I shouldn't be putting words in his mouth. I feel like he's the kind of guy who's gonna tell you what the thing is that we need to be focusing on.
Oh, exactly.
He's one of those kind of guys.
Very, very tell don't show kind of creator. Very ham-fisted sort of themes and everything like that. And it's so strange to me that he got it right exactly once.
Yeah. What I find so interesting about even I'm going to say this. What I find interesting about myself is I am still curious about what they're making. By that, I mean, like, if Quantic Dream is working on a game, I want to know what it is, even though I've hated most of them. Is that weird? Like, I find what they make interesting, even if they're bad.
Yeah. No, I do. I'm definitely, if they make it out of this lawsuit intact, I would be interested to see where they go from there.
I didn't even know that was happening.
Yeah. It's. I think a lot of different developers are going through this right now. Yeah. It's just a pretty rough industry.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to give like any sympathy to David Cage for wrongdoing or anything like that. Yeah, I meant that like the game, when he puts out a game, I'm interested in what it is.
Oh yeah. No, I mean he's definitely going to. I mean he has some good ideas.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that Fahrenheit, the score was done by Angelo Badalamenti, the Twin Peaks guy.
Really?
Yeah.
So he has a Rolodex of people.
Yeah. And I'm very curious. I mean, I can't speculate about the nature of his character, his person. I
never met him.
Never met him. Interesting ideas. Very questionable execution at times.
Well, what I was going to say next, actually, I don't know if you had something else you wanted to go into.
No, I think it's, for me, it's ending with a big question mark.
Yeah, what I actually wanted to talk about a little bit, if you don't mind, is what I find kind of, I don't want to say contradictory. I don't really, I find it a little odd when people like Telltale games, but they either don't like Quantic Dream games or they haven't played them. That I find that a little strange, where just like, if you think about like The Walking Dead season 1, which I think is really good, or even a game like The Wolf Among Us, which I like as well, I still like Heavy Rain more than both of those games.
Yeah.
I don't know if you do or what your opinion is.
I think where the difference lies is that those games are like sincerely well acted. I don't think they're as innovative as Heavy Rain. By nature, kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
A little less. Very impactful storytelling in those games. But in terms of, I like the atmosphere more than those games, I guess.
Yeah.
Wolf Among Us is pretty. It's up there for sure.
Yeah, it's unique.
But I still will go on the record as saying that I enjoy Heavy Rain.
Yeah, I can't. Are we going on the record saying we like Heavy Rain? I think we
have
are.
to like something. We
Yeah.
can't just shit on everything.
I know. The other thing I wanted to mention too is we talked a little bit in the beginning about how Heavy Rain is entirely QuickTime events.
Yeah.
The gameplay is entirely QTEs. Like,
you can walk around a little.
You can
bit.
walk around.
Yeah.
But what I think is interesting is we're talking about this game in 2021, gonna be 2022. That stuff over the past couple of years has kind of evaporated. But when Heavy Rain came out, that was like the industry.
Yeah.
Like, I really blame Resident Evil 4 for this. But Heavy Rain being all QuickTime events, and do you remember, like, this game sucks, but The Order 1886 or whatever, that tried to do the QuickTime event thing, and Call of Duty was doing it. We shouldn't, like, lose sight of that was the thing back then. And what I'm so curious what's going to happen with story-based games now, because The Walking Dead and Telltale was like that, where it was all point and click and press this now and that sort of thing. Where are we going to go from here with, like, these interactive movie games? Are we saturated?
Well, what I think is essentially what separates Heavy Rain is that it's taking the concept to its conclusion.
Oh, sure.
Where it's like, you're pretty much just testing your reaction times. Like, there's not a lot of kind of complicated combos, that kind of thing, but you're still messing around with the controller a little bit more than just pushing play and pause. I think I like it better than, say, like Resident Evil, where that's not really part of the survival horror gameplay loop. It's just kind of like a thing to keep you engaged during on
the controller.
Yeah, it's like a different sequence you can kind of get caught in. If like big guy grabs you or whatever. That. QTEs are very, in my opinion, thankfully, not a thing as much anymore. I think in terms of these, because, who knows what's going to happen with Quantic Dream. Telltale is under.
They're done,
They
right?
went under a couple years ago.
That's right.
I don't know if anybody is trying to overhaul like the remnants or whatever, but I see it very much going towards a indie. I don't think you're going to see too many like major properties do this anymore.
I mean, what does Quantic Dream do? Are they going to make the same kind of game? And then are we going to have this kind of come around again? I don't know.
No, I don't. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if they're going to exist as a company.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true.
But I mean, in terms of like, Telltale was picking up like Guardians of the Galaxy and all these big. I think it's going to go back to kind of its roots as a simple. And I think I'm going to look forward to that. Like a choose your own adventure, early adventure kind of game.
Yeah, I think that's going to do it for Heavy Rain and and David Cage. I can't believe we got to talk about Heavy Rain. You know what's funny? That was kind of the game that we sort of started our friendship over. It was one of them. Which is interesting.
Shouting Jason and Sean at each other.
Yeah, from your apartment and shit. Oh my God. Well, I think that's going to do it for now. I do find this interactive movies as games thing an interesting topic, so I'm sure it'll come up again. But thank you guys so much for listening to Goddamn GameCube, and that's going to do it for this episode.